old friend of the show, a member of the comedy group from the Midlands, who are an improvisational comedy group who create completely new sketches on the spot, of course. It's a much loved and much admired form of comedy, all based on audience suggestions. They're back in Bath. They are Improv Wolves, and their leader and head wolf, Game of Thrones head wolf, is Robert Lane. Hello, Robert.
Hi, Paris. How you doing?
I'm very well. Good afternoon to you, Robert. It's great to have you on the show. We've spoken before. You're returning to the Rondo Theatre in July. How is everything in the world of Improv Wolves, my friend?
Hey, you know what? It's pretty good, actually. We're having fun. We're off this afternoon to a festival up here in Shropshire called Beardy Folk Festival. Yeah, we've done that. It's the third year, I think, and we do Saturday and Sunday there. And it's a music festival, and they only have a couple of comedy acts, so it's great to be included in that, really. Yeah, so we're looking forward to that this afternoon. We've got plans to be up at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival again in August, which is always very exciting. So, yeah, things are good. We're enjoying ourselves.
That's fantastic. Please tell me that the Beardy Folk Festival does exactly what it says on the tin. Are there a lot of beardy folk wandering around?
Well, yes and no. Like, it is what you'd imagine, but then also quite a bit more as well, really. The age range of the attendees and the acts is really big, actually. Like, the first year we went, I was kind of surprised. I don't know why I was surprised, but one of the groups of people we kept running into was a Hindu that were there. Quite a young group of ladies sort of in their 20s and 30s. And the music, it is folky, but it's quite contemporary folk as well. So there's, loud electric guitars sometimes and people playing with backing tracks, drum and bass. So no, it's a really great weekend, and it's a nice size. Like, it's fairly big but not massive. You're not in sort of huge crowds any of the time. And the best bit is it's dog friendly. So there's lots of nice dogs hanging around everywhere.
Oh, nice.
So it's a good time, yeah.
Sounds awesome. You touched on something interesting there about sort of playing to a younger group. When you're touring, Robert, with Improv Wolves, and it is an improvisational sort of comedy performance, do you have a kind of is there a certain audience that is very common? Like, are they a little bit older? Are they more middle-aged? Do you get younger generation in there? And if you get younger generation in there, do they appreciate improvisational comedy, or is it one of those kind of folded arms, make me laugh kind of thing with the younger generation?
It's so interesting, we always start a show by kind of saying, give us a cheer if you've been to an improvised show before, and certain people cheer, and give us a cheer if you've never been to one before. And there are always people who it's their first experience of an improv show, which to us is really exciting. Because they kind of don't know what to expect, obviously, which is quite good fun. But in terms of the age, it is quite a mix, really. I compare it to, I gig sometimes as a musician as well, sort of on the singer-songwriter circuit, and that tends to be an older audience that go to those shows for whatever reason. The improv, it does seem to be a slightly younger audience, sort of people in their 20s, 30s turn out for those shows. But then quite often we've got sort of teenage kids of older people who are in the audience. And the fun part of it is, like, the audience obviously drive the show because at various points are asking for suggestions and stuff. And it's always fun to see what those suggestions are from sort of the teens and the younger people, and some of the references they make that we have to pretend that we know what they're talking about,
Yeah, but in that sense, Robert, you're a bit like a DJ, or especially like a wedding DJ, because like wedding DJs will have to DJ to 10-year-old kids, but also 80-year-old grandparents. Yeah. You have got to also kind of think about your target audience, because a lot of the references that you're going to make, and I'm sure you drop so many as a group into your shows, are going to be lost on certain parts of the audience.
Yeah, that can happen to a degree, and that's part of where having a fairly sort of interesting group of people as performers that come in. The main four of us who do most of the shows, or some combination, sometimes there's three, sometimes there's two of us, we've got quite wide interests and areas of knowledge and stuff, as well as having lots of things in common. So that all comes into play. Sometimes the others in the group are mentioning stuff I've got no clue what they're talking about, to be honest, and vice versa. But then part of the joy of it is running towards that and embracing it. And actually, you know what? If the audience suggests something and we haven't got a clue, it's sometimes quite fun to get it, playfully wrong. They can quite enjoy that sometimes.
Do you find it harder to make younger people laugh?
I don't think so. I think I don't know if it's to do with age. I think it's more to do with the style of humour. Like, as with all humour, there's going to be some people who are with you and some people who aren't with you, I think. We don't get too many of the people who definitely aren't with us. Should I tell you this story? Yeah, why not? We were at a Fringe festival not too long ago. We did 3 shows. and 2 shows absolutely fantastic, and 1 show, for whatever reason, the audience just, they weren't bad and they weren't hostile. It's just they kind of didn't feel like they were in the same room as us.
Wow.
And whatever we did, it just, wasn't happening. And then you're sort of looking at each other thinking, what's happening? But it's the same 4 of us in the same room. And I don't know, it was a Sunday afternoon. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, by the seaside.
Yeah.
So, rooms, different audiences give you different things. I don't know if it's necessarily age-based. I think people, I hope this is true, I think people enjoy the idea that it's made up in front of them. And if not everything lands, I think you get a certain amount of latitude with an improvised show, because to a degree, it's just like, oh my God, you're doing it, you're creating it. We've said this thing and you're doing it in front of us. And also, when things go wrong, it's like anything in life. Sometimes the mistakes are the best bits, and you don't quite do what you meant to do, and it leads you to somewhere more interesting, I think.
Yeah, and I guess all through this, Robert, you've got to have a thick skin, because it would be very easy to kind of get very dark and introspective about this and go backstage and go, oh my God, what did I do wrong? What did I say wrong? Why didn't I do that bit a little bit better? Was I too slow this afternoon? You must have a thick skin, because you just got to get on with the next show the next day.
I think, it's getting the miles in, really. Yeah. I always sort of feel like if somebody does 1 show a year, that 1 show is very important to them, and it's very high stakes.
Yeah.
But if you're someone who's performing, I'd love to perform every night, but if you're performing regularly, then each show is just, a small percentage of the number of shows you do. So you can come away from one where you haven't done so well and go, oh, well, there's tomorrow night. But it does take a certain amount of experience to be able to do that, I think. What sort of can be a problem is with improv, I think, is when there's things that you've been working on in your practices and all that, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then they don't quite happen in a show, and you can really beat yourself up about it. But then you got to remember that the audience don't necessarily know what it was that you're working on in the practice. And for them, we come away from it. If we've given the audience a good evening's entertainment, that's kind of the objective for us, really.
Yeah, that's interesting, actually, Robert. You've kind of just touched on what my next question, which was about rehearsing. It strikes me that really with improvised comedy, there's only a certain amount of rehearsing that you can do. So, do you rehearse? And if you do rehearse, what form do those rehearsals and practice take?
Yeah, I kind of feel like the best way to describe it, it's like a sports team, I think. You practice the drills and you practice, the moves and all the rest of it. But you can't really practice the match. So for us, you can't quite practice the show because it's going to be improvised and it's going to be dependent on what the audience do. But you can practice the technique so that when the unexpected happens in the show, you're a little bit more prepared for it. But I am of the school that doing the shows is the best way to learn, really. And the trickiest shows are the ones you learn the most from, in my experience. They're not always the most comfortable to be doing at the time, but you do learn a lot of lessons from them. So Improv Wolves, we practice or rehearse when there's new things that we want to do. Yeah. Another group that I'm in, which is noteworthy, the Made Up Musical, which is a long form, we tell one story with songs in it.
Oh, wow.
Wow. That group practices more often, but that's because we're drilling how we're going to do the songs and all the rest of it. But even there, I'm still of the opinion that we've learned more from the shows than we have from the practices. But, that's how it goes.
And do you sort of, I guess you sort of try to weave in topical stuff or stuff that's going on if it comes up. And I guess there's times in life or in the world when there's more going on than other times. So, for example, now, we've got like a possible Labour leadership challenge. We've got like Trump doing his thing. We've got the World Cup. Do you find that there's more stuff of that type topically that then comes into the shows?
What we find quite often, actually, is a bit of localism. So because we play out, kind of all over the place, and often towns will want to talk about the next town down the road and all this kind of thing, which, again, as visitors is quite good fun because we don't know the ins and outs of the local rivalries and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, national and international politics can come up sometimes. And I think then we sort of into a deeper conversation about what art is for, really, because the one hand of it is all our evenings could be escapism to take us away from that. But then on the other side, where the 4 of us are political animals and we're interested in the world. And I think it would be foolish to think that creativity can't reflect what's happening in the world at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if the idea of 7 prime ministers in 10 years makes its appearance over the next few shows and stuff. But yeah, it's varies. It really varies because it does depend on that room at that time. And that's one of the things I love about it. Like, we can have this hour or an hour and a half long show, and it's a bit of a communion between us and the audience, but then it's gone. And the next one is going to be completely different, and we start from scratch. So that's what's really interesting about it.
That must be so exhilarating, that sense of adrenaline of you never know what you're going to get per show, which is just incredible. I wanted to ask you, Robert, whether you've ever performed not in front of a audience of total non-British people, but some non-British people. Just because I'm trying to my question's about the British sense of reserve, the famed British sense of reserve, where we're all sitting there with folded arms. No one likes to do karaoke. Everyone needs a drink to get going. Are you able to sort of compare British audience to non-British audiences, and are non-British audiences or non-British people in your audience more open to kind of just doing crazy stuff without needing to have 5 pints?
Something we have found is one of the gigs that we do often in Birmingham at a venue called 1,000 Trades. And for whatever reason, there tends to be at least a group of people there who are, English is a second language. Yeah. And they often enjoy a couple of the more physical things that we do. So I feel like our show is fairly varied. We'll do some musical bits, we'll do some scenes with character development and the rest of it. But then one of the things we often end with is a game which is basically clowning and miming. And if we talk, it's in gibberish. And that can go down. It's been a couple of times that's gone down an absolute bomb at the 1,000 Trades. And then we suddenly realise it's like, it's because you don't need to be following what's being said in this. It's a physical thing with gibberish. And it's like how Mr. Bean is popular apparently all over the world because the comedy's a physical side of it. And we love that, really, because taking away the verbal can be a bit of a gift at times because it's one less thing to think about. So we find that. As for the reservedness, that's interesting as well. Again, it's back to how the overall effect of the audience affects everybody, if you see what I mean. So if the common denominator is people who are there and into it for a good time, then the whole audience is. Even the quieter ones will join in. But then I think what happened in that show I mentioned the other day, I think the common denominator, the average was the quieter people. And suddenly that sort of seeps into the whole room then. But that's where your experience comes in. You've got to find ways of trying to get that average a little bit chirpier, I think. It's not a problem. I mean, the other thing that you discover is that sometimes people's listening and enjoying of a show can actually be quite quiet. It's just that when you're trying to do comedy, that can be a bit unnerving, but you suddenly realise if you talk to people afterwards, they were so in and they were so following those characters. And our show is funny, but we also enjoy stories and those characters. So sometimes things are a little bit sad or a little bit introspective or whatever, and we don't run away from that. We like it.
Well, Robert, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. It's always interesting and illuminating. I'm a great admirer of the work that you guys do. So you're coming to the Rondo Theatre in July. Do you have specific dates that you know of, Robert, yet?
Yes, although it's only the one night. And it's completely gone out of my head just at the moment.
We'll find it. We'll find it and put it out. We'll find it and put it out. Rob. Well, listen, Robert. Thank you so much for your time. Best of luck with it, and always great to speak to you. And I hope to speak to you again soon.
Thank you, Paris. That's great.
Lovely. Cheers then. Robert Lane from the fantastic improv group Improv Wolves. We'll get that date and we'll put that out there for you guys as well. The Rondo Theatre in July. Right then, 12:35 now with